Hello again, welcome back to Shed Talk, my weekly magazine video series looking at the keeping, breeding and showing of cage birds. I say back, I'm assuming that most of you have watched the channel previously, but if you're new here, then welcome. If you've stumbled across the video but are not yet a subscriber, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and of course if you enjoy the videos, please do hit the like button. In this video, what I thought I'd do is, I've got coming up very soon is a young bird show at the Oxford 1910 Cage Bird Society. So what I thought I'd do in this episode is talk a little bit about how I go about selecting birds for a show and some of the mistakes that I quite often make when I'm looking at the birds that I'm going to pick. We will of course also pop out to the outside flight and see how the last round of the Fifes are getting on in Fifes from breeding to bench, and maybe in the next episode we'll have a look at which Fifes I will be taking to that show as well. Right, so what we'll do now then is we will talk about picking that show team. So how do I go about picking my show team? Well, first of all, I'll talk about some of the mistakes that I have made in the past and I continue to make when I'm selecting my show team for a show. So not the overall show team, but when I'm actually picking birds out to take along to a show. And my most common mistake is just picking the best birds. So what I mean by that is I suppose all of us, you know, when we look around our shed, we have a good idea of which the best birds are. And coming up to the show season, if you're like me, you will tend to separate those out into a separate flight or into some separate cages, just so you can keep an eye on them and watch them. And the temptation is to go, yeah, that's my best light green, and you know, that's my best opaline, and so on. And those are the birds that you will spot out and take with you. And like I say, I've done this and I've no doubt I will continue to do this. The problem with that approach is it doesn't take into account what condition the birds are in. And you know, you'll often hear it said, particularly by experienced judges, that condition is everything. We all know that that's not strictly true, you know, and quite often sometimes a judge will put a bird that's not necessarily in the best condition up first because it's an outstanding bird, and the bird that's in condition or better condition than it may, you know, have more and more faults in it. Anyway, but generally, condition remains an essential part of a show bird. So if you've got a bird that's looking good, and the example for mine at the moment is the opaline grey young bird hen that I've got. It's probably the best young bird that I've bred this year. If we look at her here, it's quite clear that this bird is not in the best of condition. She looks ragged, she looks loose in the feather. You can see that she's only got one tail feather, and that doesn't look in the best of condition as well. And we also can see that she's got a number of pin feathers still. And then if we have a look at her wings, it may well be that her wings aren't in the best condition either. So do I take this bird out just because it's my best bird, knowing full well that it's not in the greatest condition? And that's the mistake that I've made in the past. In this case, I'm not going to. A couple of reasons. Well, one main reason is because it's not in condition, and the second thing is that it's a hen, and I don't want to show hens too much, because we know that showing it can be quite stressful for a bird, and particularly hens. If you overshow them at the beginning, then it may well be that they won't breed for you. Which sort of, I suppose, leads on to that idea that you don't want to overtax the bird, particularly a young bird. You know, if you take it out to show after show after show, week after week after week, just because it's your best bird, your likelihood is that this is going to stress the bird out, and that bird may well then, start to go backwards, may become ill just because of the stress, and you might lose it. I said just previously, this is particularly true in terms of hens. So what am I trying to do then? I'm trying to balance the two things. So whilst I'm still trying to look to get my best birds, the better birds in my shed out onto the show paints to see how they do against the direct competition, I'm balancing that with making sure that the bird's in condition and is going to show itself to its best ability when it's up in front of the judge. So, and it can be a bit of a balance. It's really difficult, particularly with modern show birds, to get them in perfect condition. So it may be that you're going to have a bird that is genuinely in condition. It may be missing a flight feather, or it might have just dropped a tail feather, but the other one is looking perfect. So it may be that you'll put that bird out anyway, just to see how it gets on, even though it's not in perfect feather. But don't go too far with that. I've done it in the past, gone too far with that, and put a bird out that's nowhere near in condition, and certainly shouldn't have been put up in front of a judge. So what type of bird am I talking about then? Let's have a look at another bird. So I've just pulled these two birds out of the main flight, actually, just by comparison. Now the light green in the flight was really showing off. That had lots of top end blow, and standing up, chatting, and looked like looked really nice in the main flight. But even in the main flight, I could see that this bird is not in feather condition at all. Even if I washed it, it wouldn't look particularly great. So you can see that it's got lots of pin feathers in the top of the head. Tail, even if I straighten that tail, it wouldn't look in any sort of condition. The feather is loose, and some of the secondaries on the wing are missing. So whilst it was showing off in the flight and looked like it was in condition, breeding condition, it's certainly not in feather condition. So that's the type of bird I would definitely not take out. The bird on the right, so is less of, not the greatest of show birds. So I say the bird on the right, so the opaline cinnamon blue. That particular bird, not the best, not the greatest of show birds, leaves across the perch a bit, could do with standing up a bit more. But in terms of its condition, you can see it's got both its tail feathers, and the feather condition in the wings looks good. It looks like it's got all its flights. The feathers are quite tight, quite close to the body. It's holding them quite close to the body. There is very little sign of pin feathers in the head. So that's probably a bird that I would take out to the show, just because it's in really, really nice condition. So there you can go. I hope you can see what I mean by making sure that you're choosing condition. I've also got a hen in the main flight that I may get out and might have a look at that as well. But she is, a nice, would be a nice on the show bench as a hen, but again, not in ideal condition. Missing, mainly because she's missing a tail. Another bird that we'll take a look at in a minute is the young Ino that we've got. That bird, again, it's not the greatest of show birds, but it's in nice condition, other than the fact that it's clearly dropped its tail and they're in the process of growing back now. So those will probably take another 2-3 weeks before it's got a full set of tail feathers. So it's unlikely that that bird will be able to go out on to the show bench either. So, so in terms of looking at the birds when we are in terms of condition, that's what the way I will approach it. I will probably pull a few birds out that I like the look of, and then out of that we'll pick the birds that I consider to be in better condition. So another quick look at Fifes from breeding to bench, and still everything at the moment is still going okay out here in the Finch and Fife flight. The youngsters from the first round, so we got 4 youngsters from the first round. I'm pleased to say that splitting the cage up meant that we've stopped the birds from fighting, which is always good news, and they seem to be growing on really well. Again, I keep looking at them, they keep changing, so I will need to get them out and have a look at them in a show cage just to get a bit of a better view of what they actually look like. The one still in the nest, so the 5 birds that are still in the nest pan. We've got the 2 in the top cage. They're again growing, seem to be growing reasonably well. That's the original pair, is what I think we're calling it. And in the bottom cage we've still got the 3 youngsters. They're looking quite big now, so I'm expecting to see those at least beginning to get on the outside of the nest pan, you know, stand on the outside, and in the next few days, if not the next week. So yeah, like I say, everything out here seems to be going really well. As I'm approaching the holiday season, so my holiday, I'm beginning to think about how I'm going to work this in terms of making it easy for whoever's going to look after my birds to look after them out here. At the moment I would still like to keep the youngsters separate from the adults. The adults I think I will put back in the main flight, and I will probably use 2, possibly 3 of the smaller cages to hold the young bird stock. So, but I still need to think about that in terms of how, you know, somebody who's helping me out for those 2 weeks can manage with those extra cages. Right, like I say, that's just about it from out here. So let's pop back inside. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to, you know, hit the like button. If you've made it this far and you're not yet a subscriber, then please do subscribe to the channel. If you want those early notifications, then of course hit the bell. Don't forget to comment. If you've got anything else you'd like to see in a future video, please leave that in the comment section. But until the next one, please do stay safe and enjoy your birds.